I've accumulated a lot of stuff. 70 years. I guess the most important things is this chess set that I carved while I was captured. And I made a knife out of the shank of a combat boot and used a branch, slid it to where I could use it for a handle. And it took me longer to make the knife than it did to cut these out. In April, we had been on the line, which was basically the 38th parallel, and it had been, this was in April of '51, after they had already, MacArthur had pushed up to the Yalu River, which was the boundary with China, and MacArthur was making the statements he wanted to go into China. Well, that alerted the Chinese, and they shifted a bunch of people to the Yalu River, and they came across. They had pushed back clear to the 38th parallel, and we held there. They hit us on the 22nd day of April, and we watched them all day. It was on a Sunday. We watched them all day. Our forces bombarded that place. You couldn't think a rat could have lived through it. And we were fairly easy that night. But then about 9 o'clock they hit us, or about 7 o'clock. They hit us. Thousands of them hit that line. They put thousands of people, hit the whole line at the same time. And we ran out of ammo, and our unit was, well, K Company got a second unit citation, presidential unit citation for that night because we held. And they said that out of the 200 men, I heard this was only 26 survivors. And out of the 26, 13 of us were captured. So K Company really took a beating. And they hit us that night, and some of them pulled back, and I didn't hear it, and we'd run out of ammunition. And I think the last thing I had was a phosphorus grenade that I threw, and then I ducked down, got out of the hole, and made it into some big rocks. And just as I did, our forces bombed our location. They shredded that hill. And I had been made a squad leader that day, and they gave me 8 brand new men. And to my knowledge, all 8 of them died that night. I have survivor's guilt. I've carried all that time. They found me the next morning, and thank God they were Chinese, because the North Koreans didn't take many prisoners. They were brutal, and they killed a lot of people that they captured. I'm probably the only man in the history of the armed forces to be captured on the day I was supposed to get married. And I cut up my shirt and made this bag, and all those pieces were in this bag, and the Chinese told us we couldn't take anything out when we were released. So I put them in this bag, and I just put it down inside my shorts and walked it out. And I picked up this brass spoon on the walk up, march up there. During the day, they kept us in the mountains, and when the sun came up, we stopped walking. We walked that whole 300 miles in the dark. So they were so afraid of our airplanes. And I was in the kitchen of one of them, and I found spoon, so I just borrowed it. I'll take it back someday. We walked probably 5 or 6 miles down across that valley and up into some hills where we felt like we were a little safer. And that was the 22nd day of April. I walked into that prison camp on the 19th of June. Walked over 300 miles. And it was never on a road. They kept us in the mountains, so afraid of our airplanes that we bombed the daylights out of those roads. And we were in the mountains all the time. I helped carry one guy for over a week. We'd gone over the mountains and came down to a road, and the Chinese told me to put him down. And I said, no, I don't want to. I'll carry him. He said, no, put him down. He'll be taken to a hospital and taken care of. Well, I didn't believe him, but I never saw him again. I got released on the 23rd day of August, 1953, and came home back to Clovis. I was a native there, and some group started a POW organization, ex-POW, and I went to some of the meetings. They had one every year on the 27th of July, that weekend, because that's when the armistice was signed. I kept looking for that guy, and I'd been home 4 years, and on Christmas of 57, I got a Christmas card from him saying that he thanked me for saving his life. Because of you, I'm alive to enjoy this Christmas. I was captured with 2 other men on that hill. One of them was in my company, and one was in L company. I was in K company. And Fred and I were in K company. The 3 of us walked in there, and as we went farther behind the lines, they picked up prisoners from all over the line. And we walked in that camp. There was probably 200 of us. And there was probably 100 or 200 there. So I don't know what the actual count of that camp was. I would guess it was in the neighborhood of 500. As weak as we were, we lost some more men. We were on starvation rations about it's either rice or millet or grain sorghum. And had a bowl about 3 or 4 inches in diameter, and it was only about 1.5 inches or 2 inches deep, but it was never full. And we got that twice a day, once in the morning, once at night. Then I saw guys go from over 200 pounds. Fred Peterson, my squad man, he was about 6'2" and weighed about 225 when he was captured. And when he died, he might have weighed 60 pounds. He got sick on that, maybe dysentery. He wouldn't eat. I told Fred, you gotta eat. So I can't eat. I want to think about it. Mother's chocolate cake. I said, if you don't eat this, you're not gonna live to see your mother's chocolate cake. And captured in April, and he died in September. And we lost a lot of men to maybe dysentery. We had a few that died of wounds, but most of them didn't weigh 50 or 60 pounds. It's pretty sad to watch. In May, during the day, after we got back from the wood detail, they started the indoctrination, brainwashing us, tried to convince us that communism was better than capitalism. And like I said, I was 24, and those kids were 16, 17 years old, and they were easily susceptible. And I told them, don't you believe this stuff? You know what kind of country we've got at home, and you can see what these people are living in. I was gone, back in jail. I was in jail. So I spent now 72 days in confinement. There were 14 of us confined for various reasons. Mine was strictly for arguing against their brainwashing. After I got released from jail to go back to jail, I was back in the company. They didn't send us back to the same company that we had been in. They sent us to a different one. And when I did, I met a friend of mine that became my lifelong friend. He's a Japanese soldier from 3rd Division, and he happened to be from Gallup, New Mexico. Well, we hit it off just like that. And he was captured 2 days after I was in another section of the line where the 3rd Division was up next to the 24th on line, so it wasn't far away. But they got hit 2 days later. We got out of there. The war was over 27th of July. When we got out, my friend Hershey, me and Burra, got out on the ambulance ahead of me. They took us out at 6. They took us up. They trucked us to the Freedom Village and dropped off of the truck, and the Chinaman walked us to the line in the dirt, handed us over to 2 MPs, Marine MPs. They walked us through a tent fly into an ambulance, and 6 to an ambulance we left. And the first thing we saw was the biggest American flag I'd ever seen. Or one of the guys told me, hey, guess what? Hershey got the Medal of Honor. said, they tell me I'll have to go to Washington to get it. I want you to go with me. So I said, okay. When I got back, I had 59 days of freedom from the time I got discharged till the time I got married. She put it off 3 times each year. And we got married on the 18th of October. For a honeymoon, we got in the car and went to Washington. And so a lot of crazy things happened, but we wound up getting to go watch him get the medal. There were 7 men got the medal that day. But Hershey was the first one, and Eisenhower hung the medals on them.